Good morning, dear brothers and sisters. So, we teach in this church the Sunday is not a special day, Monday and Tuesday, every day is the same. But the honest testimony of my heart is I'm not yet there. So, for me, I still feel the Sunday is very special as we come together. There is a special joy, there is a comfort, there is a hope, and there are words of faith. So we trust that the Lord will speak to us even this morning. And while Brother Suresh was praying, he was mentioning this verse from Psalm 126. Psalm 126, verse 5. It says, "Those who sow in tears shall reap with joyful shouting." It's a promise. Those who sow in tears shall reap with joyful shouting. Now, that is not what I wanted to share this morning, but I was reminded of David Wilkerson. If you heard about him, he's written a book, The Cross and the Switchblade, and he was a pastor in a village church, and he felt a burden to come to New York City to help the drug addicts. And he was a village guy, and he didn't know what to do, where to go. And he was driving, if I remember correct, he was driving the car, and there was other brother with him. And he had a burden. His heart was full of burden for the young people. And he asked his friend to take his Bible and read a verse. And this is the verse his friend read that day morning, maybe that day. "Those who sow in tears shall reap with joyful shouting." Maybe some of us, it's a season of tears. Maybe your prayers are not answered, or maybe you're going through a struggle. But don't waste your tears. And sow in tears. And if you sow in faith, if you sow in tears, the day will come, you're going to reap with joy, brothers and sisters. Then I want to move on to what I would like to share this morning. So there's a verse in 2 Peter chapter 3. 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 12. "Therefore, I will always be ready to remind you of these things, even though you already know them." The burden in Peter's heart was to remind them of certain things, not to teach something new, but to remind them of some things. So that is what I want to do this morning sometime. 3 things which I wanted to remind you. And these are not 3 tips which you can take and then you practice it, you become a little more better. That's not my intention. This is essentially what we heard from Brother Suresh last Sunday about the crucified path, the way of the cross, and hating our self-life and taking up the cross and following the Lord. So, one thing which we need to flee from, and 2 things which we need to pursue. One thing for us to flee from, and 2 things for us to pursue. That's what which I want to remind you. The first thing we need to flee from. If this is a church where allows worldliness, allows sin, takes sin lightly, we don't need this verse. Because there is freedom, there is no freedom in the sense there is a wrong freedom, not the right freedom, which set us free from sin and self and the power of the devil. But a wrong freedom, a wrong comfort. You don't need this verse. But for us who take the words of life, the preaching about sin, who understand the right doctrine, I believe we need this verse. I remember once I came to know that there is a believers meeting happening in the office, my office where I used to work. And I've been there for a few years, and then, see, I was in a church like something like a Catholic church and came to this church, and I never been to a, a Protestant church where they preach about being born again. So I walked on the way and I was asking the Lord, give me a word because I'm going to be in that meeting. I don't know how, because I never interacted with many believers outside the church. So as I walked, I remember very vividly the words which came to my heart was, do not judge. This is not the word which I was expecting, but I took it to my heart and I went inside and I realized why the Lord gave me that word of warning, not to judge by what we see. We want to turn to that verse in John chapter 7, verse 24. John chapter 7, verse 24. Do not judge according to appearance, but judge with righteous judgment. Do not judge according to appearance, but judge with righteous judgment. Another verse from Matthew chapter 7, verse 3. Why do you look at the speck that is in your brother's eye, but do not notice the log that is in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, and behold, the log is in your own eye? You hypocrite, first take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. So, the food that we eat, sometimes some food will get digested fast, but some food it will take some time to get digested. And I believe the truth that we hear in the church is like that. Some of the truth which we hear, it may take some time to become true in our life. When I'm in that process, I see many truths which is not yet true in my life, but I am pursuing that path. Now, the food which is not digested in the stomach, you know what will happen? We will omit it. It will come out. So I think that's the picture I see of judging others. It's not the older ones, even teens, younger children, all of you can fall into this, judging others. It's not a new truth, brothers and sisters. When we have baptism, we listen to the testimony of brothers and sisters and the boys and girls who come forward. And I remember once, recently, I think a couple of batches before, I was listening to a young girl. I asked her testimony about, just wanted to make sure that she has a genuine experience of being born again. And she told with much sorrow, Uncle, I knew that I was saved when I was in 10th standard. But then I started backsliding. So then I asked how it happened. She said, Uncle, I started judging my mother. And she got light and she started repenting of it. There are two sides to it. One side I see, I rejoice because a young girl at a very young age, she get light that judging others is sin. And then other side, I see this danger we can all fall into. And I didn't want her to explain to me that if you started judging others, you will backslide in your heart. Because I myself has faced that. We, as elders, we come to know many truths about other brothers and sisters in the church. And I really understand that I need to guard my heart, that I will never have any bitter or wrong attitude about the brothers and sisters in the church. So, and when she said, I said, you don't need to explain too much. I understand it. We judge, we look down. There is a beautiful verse in Job 36. You want to turn there? Job chapter 36, verse 5. Behold, God is mighty but does not despise any. God never look down on any human being. No matter how he looks, how he appears, he never looks down on human being. I think, if I remember correct, it's D.L. Moody, someone who said, even if I see a drunkard, I will look at him with love or compassion because he is also created in the image of God. So let's seek, brothers and sisters, not to take up our cross in this area of judging others. Don't misunderstand me. If you are in the church, you have some responsibility, we need to discern. If you're parents, you need to discern your children. And if you see something wrong in the church, something which is dishonoring the Lord, some disturbance in the meeting, you can come and speak to elders. That's not judging. So think this is like your family. So, and if you don't have the freedom to come and tell either an elder or facilitator here, I don't think, brothers and sisters, you truly belong to this place. So if you see this home, you'll be responsible. You'll have a sense of responsibility. So, brothers and sisters who are shepherds, who have compassion, we need to have compassion on our brothers and sisters, the younger one who are growing up in the church. There is a verse in Isaiah chapter 49, verse 10. All those who minister to the teens, young people, children, remember this verse. Isaiah 49, verse 10. The last part of that verse says, he who has compassion on them will lead them and will guide them to the springs of water. Do you want to see the children, the boys and girls, other young people guided to the springs of the water? Don't have a hard heart, a judgmental heart, but have compassion on them. And, we often forget, brothers and sisters. And, a couple of weeks back, Brother Suresh was mentioning about this book of Intercession by Rees Howells. I think if I would have read that book many years back, but there is one incident in that book which it's always I keep remembering now and then. So once there was a time where God gave a burden to this man, Rees Howells, to take care of the homeless, the tramps. And he used to pick them from the street and give them a home. And once he picked up a family from the street and he gave them a place, he gave them a home, and he gave a job to that man, the husband of that house. And a little later, Rees Howells came to seek help from this man because there was another tramp, homeless. Because this house which he gave him for first was a big house, he wanted to ask his help. Can you please accommodate this homeless person into your house because you have a lot of place there? He said, no, my house is not for the tramps. How conveniently he forgot his past. So this is the human nature, brothers and sisters. We easily forget. We forget how we were in our young age. We easily forget how we were when we came to the first time to the church. I don't want to forget, I want to remember. And that leads me to the second point, which I want you to pursue. And one thing for you to forsake, one thing for you to flee from, and then pursue the attitude of gratitude. That is what this man, which I was talking about, this tramp who lost it. Pursue the attitude of gratitude. Psalm 104. It says, enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him. Bless his name. I'd like to read again. Enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him. Bless his name. It reminds us how can we walk into the house of the Lord with a heart full of gratitude, a spirit of thanks and praise. Does that mean till the gate we can come grumbling? Throughout the week we can remain in the place of grumbling and complaining and unthankful. And then we come to church, when we sing, we say thanks. Nothing will change, brothers and sisters. Often we forget, like, when Adam sinned, he was accusing God. You don't need to turn there. He said, "This woman whom you gave." So he said a right thing, a marvelous thing, but with a completely wrong spirit. When I look at my wife, this is the woman which you gave. This is the church which you gave. This is the children which you gave. This is the brothers and sisters whom I should work, which you gave. It should bring a holy reverence and fear and gratitude in our heart. Are we losing it, brothers and sisters? It's easy to remain thankful when we come first, initially to the church. But, I remember when I came to the church, I heard brothers were mentioning, they used to pray, those who seek for godly life, please bring them to CFC. I heard that and I was thrilled. I never even heard there is such a thing called godly life. And I was pursuing not godly life. I wanted to make money, but still the Lord brought me to this church. So I want to be thankful to the last day of my life that God has not done according to what we deserve. He has done according to His mercy, His kindness, the riches of His grace. Now, the story of Israelites, when they see a miracle, they are thankful for a second, for a minute, for a few days perhaps, but then they will again go back to their grumbling and complaining. There is this word, Psalm 106, verse 25. You want to turn there. Psalm 106, verse 25. But they grumbled in their tents, and they did not listen to the voice of the Lord. If there is grumbling in your tent, in your heart, you won't be able to listen what the Lord is saying to you. Be thankful. Give up all the complaining, brothers and sisters. Be thankful in whatever situations God has placed you. Maybe, as we heard in the beginning, it may be a season of tears for you. But don't grumble, don't complain, don't blame each other. Remove the pointing finger, as you heard multiple times in the church, and be thankful. So, the second thing for us to pursue, first thing for us to pursue, gratitude. Forsake the attitude of judging others, run away from it, pursue gratitude. And the third thing, or the second thing which we want to pursue brokenness. Pursue brokenness. Not gifts, no talents, but brokenness. Some of us have a wrong picture when we think about brokenness. Speaking in some little cracking voice or few tears from our eyes. None of these. The perfect picture of brokenness for me in the Bible is Jacob. A couple of years back, I think it was the youth coordinators. They made some of us to stand in front. And they asked us to remember from Bible one character which relates to you most. And any guess, can you say which character from the Bible got most votes that day? Yeah, please speak loud, I can't hear you. Peter. Yeah, that was right. Almost everyone said Peter. I also said Peter. But I went back and I thought about it. But I didn't get a picture that I can relate to Peter. You know what I found a match for? Jacob. Yeah, my life pictured about the life of Jacob. So he was pursuing the things of earth. He started his life pulling his brother's heel. A perfect picture of mankind. And there is another picture here in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 21. Brother Ian used to say he wanted to end his life like this. I believe God answered the desire of his heart. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 21. By faith, Jacob, as he was dying, blessed each of the sons of Joseph and worshipped, leaning on the top of his staff. By faith, Jacob, as he was dying, blessed each of the sons of Joseph and worshipped, leaning on the staff. So this man who was a supplanter, who was a deceiver, who always pursued the things of the earth, and he became a worshipper. Brothers and sisters, the earnest desire in my heart is not to do something great. At this point, I'm very clear, I have come to that rest. But I want to be a worshipper. I want to complete the plan which God has for my life. All other desires are all way behind in the queue. I want to be a worshipper first. I want to turn to Psalm 51, verse 10. This is the desire which David had in his heart. Create in me a clean heart, O Lord, and renew a steadfast spirit within me. Do not cast me away from your presence, and do not take away your Holy Spirit from me. His desire is not, he didn't say that, Lord, don't take away this kingdom from me. He didn't say that, Lord, don't take away the throne or this crown from me. But he said, don't take away the Holy Spirit from me. Do not cast me away from your presence. And then he said, you do not delight in sacrifice, otherwise I would give it. And you're not pleased with burnt offering. But the sacrifices of God are a broken spirit. A broken and contrite heart of God you will not despise. Brothers and sisters, anyone sitting here with a broken heart, maybe brokenness from the failure or sickness or a miserable past or fear of the future, like Jacob. That's what pursued him to seek the Lord. He was afraid of his brother. But it says God won't reject a broken and contrite spirit. One more verse from Isaiah chapter 66. These pillars, there are many pillars on either side of this building, and inside that pillar there are iron rods. This is called RCC, reinforced concrete. And those roads are hidden. You won't see it. But it is those roads, if you take away, then the structure won't stand. Do you know how to be like that in the church? Not by your gifts, not by your abilities, but if you have the spirit of a humble, contrite spirit, the Lord will be here because of you. This verse says in Isaiah chapter 66, verse 2. The second part of, I'll read the full verse from Isaiah chapter 66. My hand made all these things. Think about all the things which you see in this earth. And all these things came into being, declares the Lord. But to this one I will look to this one, not to this church, but to this one, to him who is humble and contrite in spirit, and who trembles at my word. Brothers and sisters, pursue this attitude. It is precious in the Lord's sight. I also want to show you the change which happened in Jacob's life. Otherwise, we'll have a wrong understanding of brokenness. Genesis chapter 32, verse 3. When he knows that he's going to face the fear of his life, his brother, he did some interesting thing. Then Jacob sent messengers before him to his brother Esau in the land of Seir, the country of Edom. And he commanded to them, saying, Thus you shall say to my Lord, Thus says your servant Jacob, I have sojourned with Laban, and I stayed until now. I have oxen and donkeys and flocks and males and female servants. I have sent to tell my Lord. So it's a bribe. It's not a bad thing. So he's sending a bribe because he's afraid of facing him. And then the wonderful things happen. He wrestled with God. And the man who pulled his brother's heel, the Lord breaks his thigh. And God knows where to touch. Now he is a different man after Peniel. Look at Genesis 33. Then Jacob, first verse, it says, Jacob lifted his eyes and looked. Behold, Esau was coming, and 500 men with him. So he divided the children among Leah and Rachel and the two maids, and who put the maids and the children in front, Leah and her children next, and Rachel and Joseph last. Verse 3. But he himself passed on ahead of them and bowed down to the ground 7 times until he came near to his brother. He is no more standing behind. He is no more sending bribe. He is ahead of all of them. He is facing the challenge. I see the picture when Jesus, they came to arrest the Lord. He went in front. He said, Whom are you seeking for? I am Jesus. I want to end with this promise in Matthew chapter 3, verse 11. 3 verse 12. His winnowing fork is in his hand, and he will thoroughly clear his threshing floor. And he will gather his wheat into the barn, but he will burn up the chaff with unquenchable fire. The promise of the Holy Spirit, it says, he will gather the wheat into the barn, and he will burn up the chaff with unquenchable fire. We heard about Daniel's 3 friends. When they came out of the fire, not even their hairs were burned, but nothing was changed except their heart. And I believe they came with more faith, with joy in their heart. And for us, when the Lord leads us in the path of trial and fire, we will come through, brothers and sisters. The Lord will burn up all the chaff. The Lord will take away all the wrong fear and replace with a reverential fear in our heart. May the Lord put a desire and hunger for Him supremely. Give us grace to give up the attitude of judging others and pursue brokenness, pursue gratitude in the days which are left for each one of us.